Hello, this is the technical breakdown for my Fanshawe 2022 Game Jam submission, something fishy. So in terms of our code, I've tried to logically separate things as best I can. So things like the animation, the graphics rendering, it's all in its own areas as well. The Game Jam has different managers for audio, UI, everything's kind of single responsibility for the most part. It's definitely not as organized as it could be, but hopefully it gets the job done, shows some thought went into this anyway. In terms of the actual, some of the technical challenges specifically for this project, so I had 4 goals in mind that I wanted to tackle when I decided to create this game. One was to create an underwater shader. This was something I had seen this effect from a pack I found for Unity, wanted to see if I had learned enough about shaders that I could reproduce that same effect for my GLSL frag shader. So that was number 1. Number 2 was to spawn a large number of particles and make sure that performance didn't take a hit, and that I'm cleaning up the particles and that they look natural, even if, spoilers, they're just a plane with a texture thrown on top of them, and then some discard transparency used to make it look like there's actual bubbles in the scene as opposed to just a flat image. And then I'm rotating it to face the camera so that you don't kind of see some of those seams appear. In terms of other different technical challenges, there's frustum culling, which is implemented, which will show kind of a version of that, as well as different level of detail for my models. So because I'm not an artist, I'm a programmer, I am just using one version of the model, and then I'm doing basically just a more binary, do I draw it or do I not draw it? But the tech is there that if I had 4 or 5 different versions of, say, the building models, I could swap out a low detail, high detail, medium detail. So there's some support for that. And again, that's all decided when the object gets rendered. So if we run our debug version of the project, we can see, so with my particles there, so yeah, they're just a texture that's on a rotated plane. All the UI elements are drawn on a separate frame buffer object, rendered to a texture, and then drawn on top of the scene. And then if I move down the road so we can see our next city block there, which, surprise, isn't actually our next city block. It's just an approximation, and then as we get closer, now we're rendering the actual 3D models. But once we start getting further away, we just have kind of a flat image where I took a pre-rendered version of the scene and drew it to a texture, and then used the light post to disguise some of the seams of that so it looks a little bit more natural. Can play with that effect a little bit more to get it looking better, but wanted to make sure it at least did the trick, wasn't noticeable if you're not looking for these technical challenges. And that should be everything. If you do want to reach out to me for any more clarification, for any information about my implementation, questions as far as the project itself or any of my other work, my contact info will be available on our itch.audio submission page. Thank you.